Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Chanakya Lokam, and I'll be your host as well as your speaker today, along with my colleague Kunal Mittal, who is the practice manager for business integration at Miracle Software Systems. Once again, we'd like to thank you for taking your time today to join us today afternoon for our webinar, Understanding Continuous Integration for your IBM Integration Bus Deployments. During the webinar, we'll be talking about a lot of the open source technologies such as Jenkins, Git, and other tools that you can use to automate the deployment and build cycle of your ESB applications. We'll also make sure that we cover a lot of details around the entire continuous integration cycle and what you can do beyond the automated build and deployment cycles. So moving forward, we'll be quickly taking off with an introduction to MİRACLE and what we do at MİRACLE. We'll also be introducing the MİRACLE Innovation Labs team and our Integration Center of Excellence teams as well. After that, we'll give you a quick introduction of DevOps, two-speed IT, and why enterprises are required to take the Agile route in today's environment. After that, Kunal will be talking about Jenkins and IAB and how you can use them together, after which he'll be talking about the entire cycle of continuous integration, followed by talking about the enterprise benefits of using a CI tool. At the end, we'll also be talking about Miracle's development platform as a service model, after which we'll have a quick Q&A session. During the Q&A session, if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand in the right side panel and we'll unmute you so that you can ask your question. Or if you would like to punch it into the right side chat panel, we'll make sure that we answer your questions there as well. So moving forward, just to quickly give you an introduction of MİRACLE. MİRACLE is a global systems integrator. We've been in business for over 20 years. We're headquartered in Novi, Michigan, which is in the northern parts of the United States. We also have presence in the US in Atlanta and Arkansas as well. We're present across about 8 countries. We have 2,000 employees globally. We have global delivery centers in the United States, Canada, and India being a major hub for us. Along with making sure that we can provide quality and low-cost services to our customers, one of the strong beliefs at MİRACLE is to make sure that we can provide affordable innovation for our customers. This drives to our hybrid offshore model, along with our 20 years of expertise in applied research that we have. MİRACLE services a multitude of industry verticals, including manufacturing and automotive. Healthcare and pharmacy and retail are big industry verticals for MİRACLE. We also work a lot within the energy and utilities, logistics and supply chain, and banking and insurance as well. Once again, our hybrid on-site offshore model, along with our drive for innovation, makes us a unique partner to work along with for your IT needs. We also have a strong partner network ourselves with major giants such as IBM, SAP, and others. Over the years, our teams have been able to build a lot of accelerators and frameworks, along with proven homegrown methodologies within MİRACLE to make sure that the adoption of new technology is made much more easier for customers as we move forward. Along with our certified professionals, our deep understanding of the technology and the industry layout helps us to make the best choices and advise you to make the best choices for the future. As I was saying, we have a number of strategic partnerships, including partnerships with IBM, SAP, Oracle, and Microsoft being some of the biggest players in the IT space. We're also major partners with AWS, Apogee, Atlassian, who are some of the newer leaders in the IT space that are coming forward today. So just to give you a quick introduction of the MİRACLE Innovation Labs and our Integration Center of Excellence, we work on the motto of saying that we can empower change through the innovation that we do every day within our labs and Center of Excellence teams. Within the labs team, we cover a lot of details, including mobile, IoT, DevOps, cloud, and we also cover a lot of the integration innovation within the Center of Excellence teams, including how the API economy can help you and how you need to be able to change your integration model moving into a two-speed IT world. With that being said, let's quickly go into the story of DevOps. So within DevOps, well, technically DevOps is determined or defined as a process or a methodology that can help you improve communication, collaboration, and integration between development and operation. But that's not it, right? That's not enough just to increase those. You have to make sure that both the teams can work within a synchronous model or within a collaborative model so that you can become much more agile. In today's world, we're seeing that customers are becoming more demanding than ever, and they want to see change as soon as they want it. To ensure that they can empower this amount of change, enterprises have to be able to adopt agile models to ensure that they can make those changes right away. In the past, we've seen that enterprises have made changes at a very slow pace, maybe 6-month cycles, where they've changed their legacy systems, such as their SAP CRMs. But today, the digital applications that the customer uses in this new economy have to change every day. The mobile apps that customers use, if they see something that's wrong with it, they're going to express that, they're going to talk about it. And you have to be able to take that input and make those changes rapidly. Because the moment you lag behind and don't do those changes, a competitor is going to come over and take over your business right over there. So you have to make sure that you can make those rapid changes in this new fast-paced IT world, or two-speed IT world. And that's where we're talking about DevOps, because even though these digital applications and the enterprise or legacy applications are moving at different speeds in different fulcrums, we have to make sure that both of them are aligned at a point so that they remain integrated with each other. And that's where it becomes so important for us to be able to talk about how they can be monitored in different speeds, or how they can be worked with in different speeds, but at the same time be in sync with each other across varying deployment architectures, varying speeds, and varying agile and lean models as well. So why are enterprises really going for the DevOps model? What is the main challenge that they're facing? Well, a lot of organizations are saying that making change has been very challenging. The flexibility and the agility that they are experiencing within their IT organizations for making changes to their applications or their business models has been very difficult. While the business teams or the line of business teams have been looking towards how they can change rapidly within an evolving market, the IT teams are not able to move forward. And when the IT teams are being said that, hey, you have to move forward very quickly because the line of business teams are moving quickly, the IT teams or the development teams at this point are now saying that the operations teams are working in a different model where they're saying, we don't want to make too many mistakes, so we want to go slower. And when that happens, everything gets stalled. And that's what enterprises are looking at today, especially with the evolving nature of the IT infrastructure, where we're seeing containerization with Docker, we're seeing hybrid cloud becoming a big thing. With all these different environments coming through, usually development is never equal to prod within the enterprise. And that's becoming a challenge because developers are testing their code, but when they want to move it to their production servers, the environment change, and the operations team is saying, hey, wait a second, we have to slow this down to make sure that everything is correct. And without an automated process behind this whole thing, it just leads to delay over delay over delay. And that's why enterprises are really facing challenges when they want to adopt to a faster speed of IT. So what is continuous integration? Continuous integration is more about developing an agile methodology within the enterprise in a lean fashion. So we're not saying we're going to be doing large changes every minute or every hour. We're saying that we're going to reduce those change cycles from months to possibly days, maybe sometimes even hours, where the amount of change being made is very small. So it's not as if you're releasing a new version of your application. It's just a small minor change or a small bug that you're trying to fix right there and right then. So you're simply going to build it out. You're going to make sure that you're going to deploy it, most probably in a collaborative manner using something like GitHub. And then you're going to deploy it using something like Jenkins, where it takes it, triggers a build cycle, and deploys it into the environment. And then your testing team can immediately test, review the code, and then send out feedback back to the developers. This could all happen within an hour or two, where the developer could then take that feedback, make sure that everything is set back up right, and then we go into production. So smaller changes, quicker pace. That's what we're looking at with continuous integration. With that being said, let me hand it back over to Kunal, who'll be talking more about continuous integration and how you can enable that with IBM IIB. Kunal, it's all yours.
Hello everyone. Thanks Chanakya for the basic introduction and telling about the DevOps and two-speed IT. And from here on, I'll take on with IIB and continuous integration. So nowadays, people are using continuous integration a lot in the industry and in all the landscape where IIB is deployed. And we're going to talk about Jenkins, an open source platform for your continuous integration needs, and how it integrates with IIB and schedules your recurring activities, which we do on a daily basis from project development and deployment perspective. So let me go and talk about Jenkins, which is an open source continuous integration tool which we have. It's more popular these days because of its outstanding features, like it's very simple and easy to install. It's a web UI based configuration. So in order to make any configuration changes, we don't have to rely on command level prompts, and we just have to go and make changes on a very good user interface which sits on top of Apache Tomcat. It's very easy to navigate around, easy to understand, no skills needed. Basic Java skills are needed, and we have to make some configuration changes, setting environment variables and things like that. Then it does send notification from time to time whenever it does something successfully, or it is not able to do something successfully, like during build, deploy, or executing post-build activities like testing, review, or sending notifications. It will definitely show the error in the log files or on the console, Jenkins console, and will record it and send it over emails also to you. Then it has a wide variety of plugins. Now plugins are, let me give you an example. Plugin can be a simple SMTP server plugin, which can be just imported into Jenkins, and you're ready to shoot emails out of that server once the job is done. And it can talk to multiple source safe repositories like GitHub, Visual Source Safe, Subversion. So, and probably to do each and every task, which like calling JMeter, JUnit, all of those can be done simply by importing plugins. And we can do all of that by just importing a simple plugin, which takes 5 to 10 minutes. Now coming back to the architecture of Jenkins. Let me move to the next slide. So this talks about the basic architecture for Jenkins, the build, pre-build, or how the build is triggered. Now the build can be triggered on 3 different occasions. One is like you periodically configure the build. When you say that, okay, for every hour, 2 hours or 3 hours in your daily cycle, the build will be triggered, and it will take the source, the code components from the source safe, build it, and build it for you. The second thing is when you have defined that on every change, so every time it will be triggered, the build will be triggered based on your check-in and checkouts. So when a developer is done with his coding, at the end of the day, before he leaves, he wants to do a run of his and do a deploy. So he'll just do a check-in, and at that time, based on the configuration, then the build will be triggered. So these are some of the ways through which we can automate the build. It depends on the landscape, project to project, and client to client. Then comes how the build is happening underneath. The build is happening with the help of Ant scripts. Now we all have worked with Ant scripts in the past. There is nothing new about them, and we can automate our builds using Ant. So underneath it, it uses MQSI commands to do MQSI build bar and other commands to do automate the builds. Or we can use we can directly call shell scripts. We can even invoke Windows batch commands files through Jenkins. So these are the things we can do during build. Now coming to the point, what we can do after build. So once the build is done, we can use Jenkins to even through Ant to even deploy the project to either development, production, test, or QA. So based on the global configurations which we set under Jenkins, which is at the system level, a development environment. We have a box where we have toolkit and all of these things. We call it a developer tool shop. So a developer tool shop, we have a configuration in global configuration in Jenkins where we have the configuration set up related to broker, development environment, test environment, QA environment, and production. That is one-time global configurations. Once that is done, we don't need to specify these things at a project level. When I say project, it's like you can call one project having a one-to-one relationship with a particular interface. And moving on to the next slide, which beautifully articulates what I was trying to say some time back on how Jenkins is helping us doing an auto build based on the configuration, either polling or when we make changes to the code and deploy them to the source safe repositories, and from there how it deploys to integration bus environments. So it is a distributed set of environments, be it in cloud or on-premise, and that particular environment can be multiple as well in terms of development, QA, and production. Moving on to the next slide, how we have enhanced from here. So based on the recent developments which we have done in Integration Center of Excellence, what we have tried to achieve is the complete life cycle till the code is reviewed. So all these manual activities like checking in, once you check in the code, building the code, deploying the code, testing of the code, code coverage, code review, which were all very manual, are being automated using this framework, continuous integration with IIB. So what we are planning to do here is, once the code is deployed, as what we discussed till now, we are using JUnit as an open source test repository. So JUnit is again from Apache. It's an open source product which can be used to build the test cases, wherein you can just feed in your input file and the corresponding or expected output file, and it runs on all the different protocols. So when I say that, I mean it can do the endpoint can be MQ, can be JMS, can be FTP, can be HTTP, can be SOAP. So like that, it supports multiple protocol, and it can do the testing for you. So we supply the same input message. So it will, once we call in JMeter test plan, from after we have done the deployment from Jenkins, it will run all those test cases against that particular interface and will let us know which one passed and which one did not. Once that is done, a report is sent out in form of notification back to the developer saying how we did on the test cases in terms of passed, how many passed and how many failed. Once that is done, we move ahead to automated code review analysis using Sonar. Sorry, we do code coverage using IBM IAM2 tool, which is again an open source, which tells us that if our interface is having 100 lines of code, how many lines of code were actually executed during the test case we ran recently. So which will let us know that for all the for loops, while loops, ifs, and if statements which we have written, how what percentage of coverage are we having. So we should ensure that this will ensure that we are not missing out executing some of the scenarios around which we have built our test cases. So ultimately, the bottom line is this automates and predicts what kind of coverage we have on the code, rather than doing this manually. Then we get into code review. This is done using Sonar. This is again an open source tool which we use, and it has a capability to review eSQL code. Initially, it came in with the capability to review SQL and Java .NET C# codes, but now it can even do with the help of a plugin specifically for around eSQL. It can do your code review, wherein right now it is standardized, wherein it can scan through your basic keywords and functions provided from IBM. But if you want to be more specific, have your own standards based on a particular client to put into it, it's a one-time effort, and the plugin can be enhanced to take care of that and can give you results accordingly. So once that is a manual step which used to take a lot of time, peer-to-peer reviews or technical leads taking the reviews, all those things can be automated using this continuous integration framework from MİRACLE. Then we move to the next step, where once the code review is done, as a final step, we publish the reports back to the development team and to the review team, basically any team where we want to forward the reports on a daily basis, weekly basis, or whenever this build is triggered. Okay, so let me move to the next slide. Okay, here are the components which I've been talking about, and scripts in Jenkins which does auto build and deployment. JMeter open source for testing. Code coverage, we use IBM IAM2 tool. Code coverage, we used open source Sonar plugin. And for reporting, there are many open source plugins based on your need. You can configure it to use in your landscape. Now, let me move to the next one, which talks about basically benefits around CI enablement. So once we have continuous integration in the landscape, which helps a lot during agile development and methodology, makes us more lean, and developers can more focus around development rather than focusing around testing, code coverages, reviews. So the idea is to be more productive and stay focused on the code and fixing defects, and leave the recurring activities to the framework. So definitely it reduces the cycle time, and all your regression test scenarios which you have built as part of your test UTP can be loaded into JMeter and can be executed whenever we make some changes onto the environment in terms of upgrading the IIB in form of patch, or moving from 8 to 9 or 9 to 10, or in future also that can be one repositories and test cases which can be kept there and executed whenever we upgrade our system or make small changes. Definitely it's a boon for the people who are executing projects on agile methodology. It is definitely a cost saving. Let me tell you that in my experience in the past, we have saved around 50 to 20% of the person hours for a particular interface. So it saves time for unit testing, it saves time during deployment, it saves time for regression test scenarios. And of course, it is standardized. If your team is distributed across geography, on-site, off-site, offshore, they all can work on the same model and framework so as to have some kind of standardization how we do things in the project. And that brings a lot of harmony and errorless approach towards delivery, deployment, build, and execution. Let me move to the next one. This is this is one of the slides where we talk about our own MİRACLE's own development platform as a service. So we just spoke about a small piece around IIB and continuous integration. This looks at the whole life cycle of the project from the time project is started or initiated, from the time we close the project. Okay, so this takes care of all the iterative cycles in the form of project management. We use tools from Atlassian like Confluence or Basecamp, and then IBM Jazz, which helps us do collaborative work. So one of the tools which we use under Jazz is IBM Rational Team Concert, which helps us better collaborate between the team members. Instead of exchanging emails for each and every defect, issues, changes, we collaborate and discuss those things on the platform provided by IBM under Jazz. Then our development environment is using Eclipse, definitely for IIB, And for issue tracking, we are using Jira. So once the issue, for all the issues which are tracked, they are tracked automatically using Jira platform. For source control, we are using open source, Git, and Subversion, continuous build, of course, and Jenkins. It's #1 open source platform for continuous integration. For testing related needs and for code reviews, we use Sonar, and we use JMeter, JUnit. For delivery, as in provisioning environments, where once we have the environment ready, how to install and do configurations for MQ and for IIB automatically without spending days on it. That can be done using Chef. Again, we have a separate webinar around that. And then coming on to performance management, and for those needs, we use JMeter and Dynatrace. So in all those sections, what we are trying to portray is we can either use open source tool, or we can use a license tool based on client's needs and his choice. So both, with that said, and we have put together a platform to cater to the life cycle of the project, and which works on Agile methodology. Thanks a lot. This is what we wanted to cover around IIB and CI. It's time for questions and answers.
Thank you, Kunal. If anyone has a question, please you raise your hand on the right side chat box, or put your question on the question and answer panel on the right side. Okay, looks like we do not have a questions right this time. If you do have any questions or want to watch this webinar replay, please log on to miraclesoft.com/library. If you're looking for any POSs or any information on this webinar or similar to this, please reach out to our number at 248-412-0425 or email us at innovation@miraclesoft.com. With that being said, thank you for joining us on webinar. Please also visit our tweet handle at @team_MSS. You can watch our YouTube channel at YouTube/Miracle4565. Like our Facebook fan page at facebook.com/Miracle4565. Thanks a lot. Have a great day, everyone.